Hello, can everyone see me? Perfect. Pick and sound good. All right. So, hello, Night Riders. Disregarding Henry here with another live stream. This is my second one. Okay, looks like we're doing fairly well. Hey. Okay, so yeah, this is only my second live stream. Still getting used to this, and we'll see how well this one goes. Hopefully better than the first one. Yeah, I get nervous doing this sort of thing. So just gotta learn to relax. Talk about movies. All right. So, title of the video is Enemy and Denis Villeneuve, if I'm saying that right. And yeah, so I was thinking about the format for the live streaming stuff. And last time I did this, there was really no shortage of questions in the chat here. So I'm going into this one without any prepared questions or anything like that. I'm just going to do the questions in the chat. And for the first part of the stream, the way I'm trying to work it out, I still haven't figured out exactly like the best way of doing this. But the way I'm thinking is I'll just talk about what I've been watching the last week, different movies and stuff at the beginning. Pick a movie of the week, talk about that, and then yeah, just open it up to questions in the chat. So I guess while I'm talking about the movie of the week, yeah, if you could just hold off your questions so I'm not tempted to answer something in the chat, or just keep your, if you can, keep your questions related to the movie of the week or the director or whatever it is. And then once that's out of the way, then I can just focus on answering some questions, and hopefully that will make for a smoother stream than last time when I was just sort of overwhelmed and trying to keep track of everything I wanted to talk about. So I guess we'll get started. The movie I wanted to talk about is Enemy. This is one that I saw for the first time a few days ago. I just rewatched it a second time, and this was a movie that I really fell in love with. How did you come across Enemy in the chat there? I think I had seen a trailer for it first, and it looked strange and surreal and cool. And I think I made a mental note of it, but I never really made an effort to track it down. But then the director, Denis Villeneuve, he's been quickly becoming one of the most sought after, one of the most acclaimed filmmakers in the world right now. He just did Arrival, which my brother saw and really loved. I had seen Sicario, another one he did. I had heard a lot of things about Prisoners, so I knew of him. And I think after seeing Sicario, that is a very good movie, a very tense and suspenseful, and a very tightly controlled movie, obviously by somebody who is an expert at their craft, and I was impressed by that. And I just thought, I kind of want to see more of this guy's movies. And of course, Blade Runner 2049. I'm a big fan of the original Blade Runner. Was concerned at first when I heard they were doing another one, but then I saw that Villeneuve was the director. Thought, oh, okay, well maybe he's a fairly good choice. But at the time, I wasn't very familiar with him. And I guess just recently, I wanted to start watching more of his movies, and I wanted to become more familiar with his style, like what he was all about. And Enemy, I guess it was just, I remembered seeing that trailer ages ago and thought it looked strange and unusual. and I got a hold of a DVD from my local library. Actually, don't always have money, to do like VOD or stuff like that. So the local library is a pretty good resource for stuff like that. I got a hold of the DVD from there, gave it a watch, went into it with almost no expectations, just thinking like, hope this is good, hope I enjoy myself. And boy, was I blown away by it. I think almost right away from the opening scene, there's such a palpable atmosphere to it. You can tell immediately that you're in the hands of somebody who is in complete control of the film that they are making. That is not wasting any shot, any camera move, any moment. That is an absolute master at what they are doing and is telling a completely unusual story in a completely unusual way. I get so excited when I see movies like that aren't adhering to the typical rules, that are trying something really bold and different. And I got that sense right away. And as I watched this movie, I was becoming thrilled by the experience, because I realized, like, I have no idea what is going to happen next. I have no idea what the next scene is going to be. I don't have the slightest clue where this story is going to end up. I have not the slightest idea where this could end, where this could take me. And I was utterly enthralled by it. And the tension to it was amazing too, because if you think about it, not much really happens in that movie. There isn't really too much of a plot if you think about it. But Villeneuve is able to, just with his through his skill as a director, as a filmmaker, he's able to give every scene this incredible sense of weight and significance. You get the sense that there's something going on underneath the surface. There's something emotionally that's being communicated to you through the atmosphere of it, the visuals, the music, the sound design. There's something being communicated to you that is incredibly profound. But when you watch the movie, it's so abstract, it's so unusual that you don't know exactly where that significance is coming from. Like, you're not even really sure what the movie is about. At least when I watched it first time, I didn't have a clue. I had no idea. Is this about identity? I guess I should probably explain the plot for anybody who's never seen it or isn't really familiar with it. But basically the concept is, movie stars Jake Gyllenhaal as a history teacher who is watching a movie one day and happens to spot himself as a background extra. And of course, he's shocked by this, starts looking into it, discovers there's a man out there, an actor, who is his exact doppelganger. And he becomes obsessed with this, starts trying to track this guy down, starts trying to meet with him. And over the course of doing that, what are the words for this? His sense of reality starts to fall apart. His life starts to implode. I'm not exactly sure how to put it. There's something being conveyed in this movie that I can't quite verbalize. You get the sense watching it that, yeah, it's incredibly profound and it's reaching for something really deep, but I'm not quite sure what it is. And I already saw a question of somebody asking me to explain the ending. I don't know that I can really explain anything in this movie, and I think that's probably why I loved it so much. I've read a few interpretations that it's about relationships in a certain way, that it's about a character who is, I guess, somebody who wants to be a decent guy, but who is he tries to remain in a monogamous relationship. He tries to be a faithful person, but is just hopelessly tempted and can't stop himself, from cheating, from being dishonest. And I don't know, breaking it down and trying to interpret it like that and trying to I guess analyze it. I don't know. It feels like it trivializes it to me. I like watching it and not really knowing at all what is going on, because it seems so much bigger that way. If you bring it down to earth like that, and it's about relationships, it's about remaining faithful, it's about love, it's about sex. I don't know. It seems too mundane to me. I like watching it, not knowing at all what it's about. Sort of like a David Lynch movie. It's that mystery. It's that enigmatic quality that I think makes it so compelling, so absorbing. I'm sure like everybody has an interpretation of Eraserhead or Mulholland Drive, but honestly, would those movies be as fascinating as they are, as compelling as they are, if you knew exactly what every symbol meant, exactly what every scene meant? I think part of the appeal of them is the fact that they are so difficult to interpret, the fact that they don't seem to make any sense, but it presents you with a puzzle. It presents you almost with a challenge. Like, can you figure this out? Can you crack the code? Can you figure out what is really going on? And there's something about that is really exciting, that, at least for me, really draws me in and makes me obsessed, makes me really want to know. But anytime I get too close, I want to back off, because it's like, it isn't as exciting that way, to put it into concrete terms. I like it staying in more ethereal terms, because it seems so much bigger that way. It seems so much more significant that way. The way I describe Enemy, I posted a review on it on my social media pages, like on my Tumblr, my Facebook. The way I described it is it's almost like an act of alchemy. I wasn't even really aware of what Villeneuve was doing as a director, or what the script was doing. It was everything coming together to form this cohesive whole. The acting, the sound design, the music, the cinematography, the editing, the direction, everything was just so perfectly orchestrated to conjure up this intense feeling of dread and apprehension. It felt like a horror movie to me. It had that kind of very thick, suspenseful atmosphere that immediately arrests you. And I don't know how exactly he was able to do that, because if you were to look at the script, if you summarize the story like I just did, it doesn't sound that impressive. And I'm sure if you read the screenplay, it would seem like, I don't know, it seems kind of slight here. Like, what is this really about? Like, he was able to do something. He was able to cast some kind of spell through the magic of filmmaking that made this feel like an incredible, profound movie that is about these vast, unknowable things. That's the sense I got watching it, and I loved that feeling of feeling like this director, these people, these filmmakers were 2 steps ahead of me, that they were doing something that I hadn't caught up to yet. Because so often you see movies and it's like, where the next step, where this is going to end up. Okay, the hero's going to defeat the villain, guy's going to get the girl. You can predict where most stories are going to go. This one, not a chance. And the visual symbols, I don't know if I can explain the significance of the spiders, what all that meant. I don't know if I can explain the ending. I don't really have an interpretation of it. All I know is just, my God, were those incredible images, were those unforgettable images, was that an amazing atmosphere that Villeneuve conjured for this movie. And Yeah, I'm assuming they're talking about the ending here. I think it's one of the most unsettling things I've ever watched. Yeah, why exactly is it unsettling? Um, I really want to know about the ending scene, but it shouldn't be spoiled for anyone. Yes, I agree. I'm not going to spoil the ending. It is something that you just have to experience. It leaves you with an incredible feeling, and yeah, it leaves you tremendously disturbed, and not even exactly sure why. Certainly, it's a disturbing image, but there's just something underneath it too that is just insidiously getting under your skin and leaves you walking away feeling like, oh God, I yeah, something about that was tremendously unnerving. And so just as a work of craft, as a tonal piece, as an atmospheric piece, I think Enemy was an absolute masterpiece. I enjoyed it so much, and I love, like, I guess you could say it's almost like a cosmic kind of horror movie. You know, it gets into some kind of existential fear that isn't quite communicated through words, but rather through images and through emotions. And I love that. I love movies like that. I never see enough horror movies like that. Somebody mentioned Under the Skin in the chat. Yeah, I agree. It has a similar kind of feeling to it where you're not quite sure like exactly what this means or what that means, but it's it's communicating something to you that is affecting you, that is making you uncomfortable, that is making you afraid and you're not sure why, or making you tense and you're not sure why. Sheila says, don't spoil the ending. Okay. Oh, I lost my train of thought. I gotta pick it up back where I was. Enemy, yeah, incredible tonal piece. Yeah, it's like a cosmic horror movie, almost like H.P. Lovecraft, but without like monsters or ghosts or anything like that. Getting at something emotional, like an emotional kind of horror. And I want to say intellectual kind of horror, but just giving you the sense that things aren't right, that there's something wrong, there's something off, there's something off kilter in the world or the universe that just makes you feel unsafe. Yeah, it's the same kind of it's that same kind of unsettled feeling I get like when I watch or when I read H.P. Lovecraft or a great horror novel like that, where I'm not really scared like of the specifics, like I don't believe in monsters or ghosts, but it just gives me this unsettled feeling where like the world is a threatening place and I'm not quite safe in it. I enjoy that for some reason. Maybe I'm a masochist, but there's something about that is kind of fun to me, that can play with your imagination like that and make you, I guess, feel again like you're a kid hiding under the covers, from all of these things in your imagination. I guess it makes the universe seem like a more exciting, magical place. When you grow up and you become an adult, it becomes a very dull, concrete place. Like, yeah, I know this isn't real. I know this is what I have to expect. The world exists according to very solid rules, and whenever a story can seemingly make those rules seem less real, I think that's kind of exciting. It brings you back to that childlike mindset. It's like, oh, suddenly anything seems possible. I don't know if I don't know if I'm communicating that in the best way or a way that I'm completely satisfied with, but yeah, there's something there. I'm still having difficulty verbalizing it in exact terms. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of horror movies, and to me, horror is a genre that is like, it cannibalizes itself probably more than any other genre. You see horror movies, a lot of horror movies today, they're just reference after reference after reference after reference. It's so exciting to me to see a movie like this that is doing something completely original, doing something completely new. I wish more movies like that got made, but yeah, unfortunately, it just seems like not just movies, but culture itself is just becoming entirely cannibalistic, just redoing the same thing, trudging out the old corpses to parade all over again. And I want art and cinema to move forward. I want new stories, new ideas. That's what this movie gave me. And I was so thrilled by that experience. And I think I enjoyed Enemy so much, and enjoyed it even more the second time I watched it. I think it has almost immediately become one of my favorite films. I loved it that much. And I think anybody who hasn't seen it should absolutely track it down, because I don't think you will ever forget it. Maybe you won't understand it, but after those final images flash across your screen, you will have definitely had an experience. And I thought it was a great experience. And I want to talk a little bit about Denis Villeneuve too, because what about The Double, based on the same book? If you're talking about the Jesse Eisenberg movie, that is actually not based on the same book. Enemy is based on... I haven't read either of these books, but Enemy is based on a book called The Double by a Portuguese author, I think. Jose Saramago, I think. And the Jesse Eisenberg movie, The Double, is based on the Dostoevsky novel. So, coincidentally, about very similar subjects, based on novels with the same title, but different things. Do you know The Skin I Live In? You want to forget this movie. Yeah, Pedro Almodovar's The Skin I Live In. That was a very disturbing one. I don't even... For anyone who hasn't seen it, yeah, the way Almodovar tells that story, the way he reveals very key details at strategic points in the story, that's almost one you can't even discuss, because you risk ruining the whole thing. You've got to go into it, yeah, not knowing where that's going to go, because when the twist is revealed in that one, yeah, that's tremendously disturbing. You don't even see it coming. But yeah, that was another very unsettling one. Oh yeah, I believe Enemy is based on a book by Jose Saramago. I'm not sure of the pronunciation there. El Hombre Duplicado, in Spanish, The Duplicated Man. Yeah. Don't spoil the ending. Yeah, won't. I try not to spoil any endings. Enemy is highly anticipated right now. So far I've seen Prisoners and Arrival from Villeneuve, which on initial watch were fantastic, but didn't quite hold up on rewatches. Okay. Well, I thought Enemy held up. I've only seen Sicario the one time, but I'm really interested in seeing Villeneuve's other work. And I'm somebody who wrote off remakes and sequels. Are you anticipating Blade Runner 2049? Yeah, that I'm getting to that. I'm somebody who wrote off sequels and prequels and remakes, all of that. I wrote it off a long time ago. I decided, that's not what I want to see personally as a viewer, so I'm not going to contribute to that. I'm not going to pay to see any of that, because I don't want to encourage that kind of filmmaking. I want to see different kinds of things. But I have to admit, even though I'm a huge Blade Runner fan, and I saw the trailer for Blade Runner 2049, and it actually does look interesting, I was kind of like, it's another sequel, it's another unnecessary reboot of an 80s movie. It's like, I don't want anything to do with that. I don't care if it looks good. It's more of an ideological thing. This isn't the kind of filmmaking that I want to be happening. I want new stories. But I have to admit, after seeing Enemy and feeling like I've just personally discovered a new visionary. I'm familiar with most directors. I don't know if that sounds pretentious or egotistical, but I've sometimes you can get kind of cynical and jaded and feel like, I've already all of the great filmmakers have already come and gone. Like, there are no really great visionary new filmmakers. And I'm not saying like most filmmakers are bad. There are a lot of good filmmakers out there working right now and making lots of really good movies. But it's been a little while since I've gotten the sense that, like, okay, this is somebody really special that has their own unique way of doing things, telling stories, visualizing a film. And I got that sense watching Enemy that Villeneuve is one of those new visionaries. And it was such a great feeling to discover that and to feel like this is somebody that is going to go on to make amazing films and whose work is really going to be remembered. And so, as a result, against my ideological tendencies, I am actually interested in seeing Blade Runner 2049 now. Because like Ridley Scott, who was a master of visual tone and atmosphere, Villeneuve is just that, a master of tone and atmosphere and craft, but in his own way unique from Ridley Scott. So if anybody had to do a sequel to Blade Runner, he's probably the perfect choice. And I got to admit, I actually want to see it now. I might actually break my self-imposed anti-sequel, reboot, remake rule, and I might actually go see that one. I will see it at some point, I know, but I might actually go to the theaters to see that one, which... is it? I can't remember if it's coming out this year. If it's coming out this year, that will make it probably, the first movie that I will have seen in a theater in probably more than a year. I think the last film I saw in a theater was The Revenant, like back in January of last year. So it's been a long time. That's partly because I just haven't really been excited for a lot of new movies, but also because just my local theater is really crappy, never plays anything good, and just the quality of their projection and sound is never satisfying. But yeah, if it's something I'm really excited and really interested in seeing, then I will just kind of bite the bullet and just go see it, just because if it's a really good movie by a really good director, that experience of seeing it in a theater, on a big screen in an immersive setting, it's really remarkable. You can't replicate that at home. And I know I've been disparaging on theaters on this channel. I know I've posted videos saying like, I hate movie theaters. I might be changing my mind a little bit because, like I saw Gaspar Noé's Love in 3D in a theater, and that was just incredible. I've watched it since on Netflix, and it's just not it's not the same experience. And I think that taught me a little bit that, okay, theaters, they do give you something. They do add something to the experience. There's something about, just being sat down, planted with an audience in a room built specifically to show this movie and to just immerse yourself in it. There's nothing quite like that. I mean, you can try to replicate it at home, but you can never really get the same experience that you get in a theater. So I'm coming back around. I'm starting to turn around a little bit on theaters. I just wished I had a better local theater, and that we got a more diverse selection of movies. It's just, it's the same old dull studio stuff every month. So it's rare that something comes here that is like, okay, I really do want to see that. So Blade Runner 2049, I probably will go see that. And hopefully it's good. We'll see if Villeneuve, because he's becoming such a big filmmaker now, if he manages to hold on to his specific esoteric qualities, if he can still inject a bit of his personality and his sensibilities into these larger projects. Some directors do manage to do that, do manage to thrive, in that studio environment, working on a larger scale. Others don't. I guess so far he's had a pretty good track record. His movies have steadily been getting bigger and bigger, and he's still doing great stuff. So we'll see if he can continue that streak. And I also heard he signed on to direct a new adaptation of Dune, Frank Herbert's Dune, which is something that I'm going to be doing an Unmade Masterpieces on very soon. Many people have tried to adapt Dune, and as author Frank Herbert once said, all of them have failed. So we'll see. I have yet to be convinced that it's actually going to happen. I don't think until like I see on-set photos or I read that like they've officially started shooting, I might not even be convinced that it's actually going to happen until I see it's in theaters, because this is a project that has gone through many false starts, many cancellations. It seems every half a decade or so somebody else is trying to adapt Dune. So we'll see. We'll see if it actually does happen. But I'm very interested to see where Villeneuve goes from here. And yes, there's some people mentioning a few of his other movies. Incendies, yeah, that was, I believe that was nominated for an Oscar for Best Foreign Language Film. That's one I got to see. Everybody seeing John Wick 2, looks like. Unfortunately, yeah, I'm not too crazy about the John Wick movies, but my brother and a lot of my friends are, and they were pretty pumped by John Wick 2. They seemed to really enjoy it. So I guess if you're a fan of the first one, it sounds like the second one is a pretty good time. Let's boycott Dune. Well, Hodorowski's still alive, or do you just mean Hodorowski's Dune? Yeah, that is heartbreaking. Yeah, I'll be doing an Unmade Masterpieces episode on that in the near future. But yeah, when you see what his vision was for Dune, it's very, very exciting. I just mean his Dune. Yeah, all right. I did hear recently that Jodorowsky is going to finally direct The Sons of El Topo, the sequel to his cult classic El Topo. I read, because he just released a new movie, Endless Poetry. It's the second film in his autobiographical series after The Dance of Reality. And he said he's planning like 5 more films in the autobiography series. And he's also, he said his next project is, I think he said his next project is going to be Sons of El Topo. He's just trying to get the financing together. But that's another one that's like, it's been announced and it's started and it's stopped so many times that like I want to believe that it's gonna happen, but I probably won't really be convinced until it's actually playing in theaters. But man, I hope it happens. But that's certainly, Jodorowsky isn't slowing down for an, is he 86, 87 now? Planning, yeah, a new movie and then 5 more after that. He is not giving up on his long-term goals. Good for him. I hope I can still have that kind of drive when I'm his age. Sons of El Topo, nah, his version of Dune would rock the house. I do wish through some miracle he would be able to get to do that. I want to see everything Jodorowsky never got to do, like King Shot. I don't know if anybody has heard of King Shot, but that was one he was going to do like in 2008, 2009. It was going to be a collaboration with David Lynch, and like it was going to be, he described it as a metaphysical western. It was going to take place in a casino in the middle of the desert. It was going to star Nick Nolte and Asia Argento and Marilyn Manson as a 300-year-old pope, and the plot was going to revolve around the discovery of a man the size of King Kong. It sounded crazy, and like Dune, he had storyboarded every single shot in the movie. So I mean, it's ready to go. Basically, he just couldn't get the money together. That's the only reason it didn't happen. It was all there already, and the money just couldn't come together, even with David Lynch attached. So, yeah, every time I read about a film of Jodorowsky's that had to be abandoned, it just breaks my heart, because these movies sound amazing, and you see bits and pieces of the storyboards online. It's like, oh my god, that would have been so cool. All right, so I guess I have a strange feeling Jodorowsky is actually immortal. He might be. I mean, with all the metaphysics he's into and all the studies that he does, and his like the vibe he gives off of being like this spiritual guru, he may have discovered the secret to immortality. Let's hope he has, because I would love to see many, many more movies from him. Lynch sadly has problems financing his own movies. That he does. He hasn't directed since in more than a decade, hasn't he? Inland Empire was his last one. That was like 2006. He's doing Twin Peaks, the Twin Peaks revival, which remakes, reboots, sequels, like yeah, it's exhausting, but it's cool to see David Lynch doing something new. So I probably will end up watching the new Twin Peaks stuff. I've seen the series a long time ago. It's been a while. There's a lot that I don't really remember, but Inland Empire was a tough watch. Was it because of the length or because of the quality of the movie? For me, it's kind of both. I don't think Inland Empire is his best. But yeah, I think I am gonna watch the new Twin Peaks, see what he does with that. Just because, yeah, it's been so long since we've gotten anything from Lynch. I want to see, yeah, where he is now as a filmmaker. Okay, so I guess I'm just going to open it up to any questions you might have. We'll do just a free-form Q&A for the next 20 minutes or so. If you are so anti-remake, how do you feel about Funny Games? That's an odd one because it's the same director that did both versions. I guess it just depends on what the movie is. Because I'm generalizing, obviously, when I say, like, I don't want anything to do with remakes and reboots and all of that. But that I'm also, at the same time, not saying that all of them are bad. There are some good ones. It's just there are so many now that you know what they say with the entertainment industry, you vote with your wallet. So I'm just trying to vote with my wallet. That kind of stuff is not what I want to see. I want to see more original ideas, films, stuff like that. So it's not that I think they're all bad. It's just that I don't want to see more of the same thing, whether it's good or whether it's bad. But with Funny Games, yeah, that wasn't really a studio thing. That was Michael Haneke, I guess, just testing the waters of English language filmmaking and choosing to remake one of his own films, basically shot for shot, word for word, in English with an English-speaking cast. I don't know. It's a tough one to say because it's basically the same movie. If you like one, you'll like the other. I think they're both on their own as movies. If you can forget the other exists, each one is a pretty good movie. It's a weird kind of experiment, isn't it? Of just having the exact same movie, but in two different languages with two different casts. It's kind of like the Psycho remake. I thought that was a weird, interesting little experiment in what you can do with a remake. The Psycho remake has kind of a surreal quality to me where, yeah, you recognize all these shots from a movie from 1960, but from 1997. What are your feelings on the silent film era? Did I answer the question well enough about Funny Games? I like both versions, and I guess just with Michael Haneke, it's not quite the same as like, oh, what was popular from a long time ago? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Let's bring that back. Or hey, Man from U.N.C.L.E., that was a successful show, right? Let's bring that back. I am joking. Oh, sorry. I didn't catch on to that. Sarcasm doesn't translate through text. I apologize for that. I just tend to take everything completely literally. What are your feelings on the silent film era? Are you a fan of the bigger ones like Metropolis? I'm not that familiar with silent films. I've seen ones that I like, and yeah, Metropolis is definitely one that I admire for epic scale filmmaking. It really creates an incredible world. The effects that they were able to do at that time are really stunning, and it is I think it's one of the essential films. Metropolis is one of those essential films that if you are into filmmaking, film history, it's one that you absolutely have to see. And yeah, I think it's one of those all-time classics. Like, it's been referenced and it's influenced so many other movies that yeah, it's an essential one to see, and it's one that yeah, I am an admirer of. And I've seen many different versions of it too, because that was one, of course, that was tremendously recut and butchered by producers. The original version, yeah, has been lost for ages, still is lost. I think the complete original version still to this day is lost. But they're constantly discovering like new footage, new sections, alternate prints. So yeah, I've seen a 90-minute version, I've seen a 2-hour version, I've seen the 2.5-hour version that I think is the most recent one. And every time it just gets better and better. Like, the more you get of the story, the more the scale of it is restored. It's really like, wow, this is really quite a stunning achievement. Incredibly ambitious for, what was it, the mid-20s? Yeah, of doing some of the stuff they did, and they had to do it all in camera. You know, they didn't have post-production processing. Like, this is in the earliest days of cinema. They're just trying to cobble all these things together however they can. It's pretty amazing what they were able to do. Have you heard that Judd Apatow is remaking Even Dwarfs Started Small? I have not heard that. Oh, is that what you're joking about? I didn't catch on to that. I'm sorry. I gotta keep track of the chat better. Ooh. Another live stream is just going into absolute chaos. There's that rumor that Americans don't like subbed or dubbed movies, so you have to remake it in order to get them to watch it. Yeah, that's probably true to a certain extent, yeah. I think for Haneke, in the instance of Funny Games, that was probably him maybe just trying to see if he could move into English language filmmaking and get more exposure in the United States, which is a huge market. Filmmaking is an artistic medium, but it is also a commercial medium. So, I mean, yeah, it's a careful balance you have to maintain of holding on to your artistic integrity, but also, yeah, trying to reach an audience, reach people, and give producers a sense that they haven't wasted their money. It's a complicated business. Do you think Only God Forgives is worth seeing? I watched Drive and loved it, but I've heard Only God Forgives isn't nearly as good. Personally, yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan of Drive, but I really wasn't a fan of Only God Forgives. Yeah, if you're a fan of Drive, I really don't think you have to go into Only God Forgives not expecting the same thing, because Only God Forgives feels very rambling, very unfocused. It looks great. Nicholas Winding Refn is an incredible visual filmmaker. He creates the most beautiful movies, but sometimes with his stories, he's a little meandering. It feels like he didn't quite give enough attention to the screenplay and a little too much attention to just making a very beautiful shot or a very beautiful sequence. Only God Forgives, of what I've seen of his, I think has been the weakest so far. I did see The Neon Demon. I enjoyed that, not as much as Drive, but much, much more than Only God Forgives. I think if you're going to watch Only God Forgives, it should maybe just to see some really pretty neon lighting. That's basically it. Personally, I didn't think it had too much else to offer. Chiming in on Only God Forgives, you will appreciate it if you appreciate Refn, but it's very dark and almost crude. Yeah, it is very violent. I felt unnecessarily violent. Drive, I thought like the violence is graphic and brutal, but it's motivated by the story. And you can see the purpose of all of those moments of violence. Whereas Only God Forgive, it felt superfluous for me. It just felt like stuff happened. There wasn't much reason behind it. There wasn't much purpose to it. And then finally it was over. I didn't like it too much. What are your thoughts on Vincent Gallo's The Brown Bunny? I don't like it as much as Buffalo 66. Buffalo 66 is one of my favorite movies. I love that one. And I really admire Vincent Gallo as a director, that he's so daring with all of his films. And that he like writes, directs, acts, does the cinematography, does the editing, does the music, does all of this stuff himself, and really tries to make very personal films, very deeply, intensely personal films. And I think Brown Bunny has some really great moments in it. And Vincent Gallo is, for all the interviews you see with him where he's just the most egotistical jerk, bashing on every other film, every other director, in his sight, and just talking about how dumb everyone else is and how brilliant he is. You really get the sense that he is just the most egotistical person. But then you see his movies and it's like you don't get the sense that he's just like trying to indulge in his own ego. He's really trying to reveal some deeply vulnerable personal aspects of himself. So it's a weird disconnect there, like the sensitivity and the vulnerability of his movies and just his incredible egotism, at least his what would appear to be his egotism as a public figure. I don't know. Maybe it's all a performance. Maybe he just says it just to get attention, generate controversy. Maybe he knows it makes headlines. I don't know. But he has said some outrageous things. But I do really respect him as a filmmaker, and I think Brown Bunny, it can test your patience a little bit. But I need to plug in my laptop real quick. Sorry. Okay, I think we're all good now. But yeah, Brown Bunny can kind of test your patience a little bit, but it does have some pretty incredibly vulnerable moments in it that I think, that's affected me emotionally, and it's a pretty brutal examination, of masculinity and the way men relate to women, or at least I don't know how autobiographical it is, but maybe just the way Vincent Gallo relates to women. It feels very confessional, very deeply personal. So yeah, I think there are certainly things to admire about it. The Brown Bunny is in my top 10 films ever. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. It's one of those movies, I think, that if you connect to it, you really connect to it. Sort of like Buffalo 66. If you connect to it, you really connect to it. Your thoughts on the end of the tour? I haven't seen the end of the tour yet. I'll put that one on my list. I got my list here. Somebody last stream recommended the films of Peter Watkins, War Game, and Culloden. Still not sure how to pronounce that. I wasn't able to track those down, but I'll keep them on the list. I'll add the end of the tour, so you can maybe ask me next stream. Hopefully I'll have seen it by then. Is Vincent Gallo the same dude who did Metropia? That's the animated one, right? Pretty sure that was him. I don't know that he directed it, but I think he does a voice in it. What's your opinion on Ryan Gosling? I personally have yet to see a film he starred in that I haven't loved. Yeah, he's been doing some good stuff. He's, personally, I'm not the biggest fan of him as an actor. He feels a little wooden to me. But I guess, I guess it depends. It's kind of like the oh, not it's not Pavlovian response. It's that phenomenon where people can perceive an emotion in somebody depending on the context that you see a person's face. I always forget what that's called. Um, but yeah, it seems like oftentimes directors use Ryan Gosling in that way. They just try to keep him as emotionless and as blank as possible. So I don't know. Maybe I've seen him in too many Nicholas Winding Refn movies. But yeah, I did say I was going to go see Blade Runner 2049, so we'll see how he does in that. I don't think he's a bad actor, but yeah, just so far I haven't really seen it. I've seen movies with him in them that I have loved, but I haven't really loved his work in them so far. But we'll see. I'm not anti Ryan Gosling, but I wouldn't say I'm a really big fan of his either. Somebody talking about long movies. Two of the most enjoyable films I have watched last year were Satan Tango, Bellatar, and Out One, Jacques Rivette, which are 7 and 13 hours in length, respectively. What are some of the longest films you've ever watched? Do you have any opinions about length? Rather girth. I'll check out Neon Demon. Yeah, Neon Demon is one of the most beautiful movies I've ever seen. It can feel a little bit slight in the story department. It can feel a little bit excessive in the runtime, but it does have some great sequences in it and an amazing ending. I did love the ending to Neon Demon. So it goes out on a high note. If you can just remain patient throughout the whole thing and just look at all the pretty images, then you'll probably enjoy it. But long films, I don't really think I don't really think there's an ideal length for movies. I guess personally I feel movies should be short as possible. I guess I just believe in trying to make your point as quickly as you can. But I do also really appreciate longer movies too. I like movies that really open up the space and allow you to get lost in the world they create. Like the original 5-hour version of Fanny and Alexander is one of my favorite films of all time. Or like, say, the work of Andrei Tarkovsky. Solaris is one of my favorite movies of all time. And I've only seen one Bellatar movie. I haven't seen anything by Jacques Rivette so far. But the only Bellatar movie I've seen was The Turin Horse. And that's like 2.5 hours long. Not much really happens. But yeah, there is something about the space that Tar creates in that one, using these very long, flowing shots that go on for like 10 minutes at a time. It's like these amazing long takes that he does that really give you a sense of real time passing and that really give you a sense of having lived in this place, in this time, and in this place with these people. It's not really like anything else I've ever seen. I want to see more of Bellatar's work. Unfortunately, it's a little bit hard to get a hold of. His stuff, like Satan Tango and Werkmeister Harmonies. Turin Horse is the only one that appears to be like easily available in the U.S. But I've always wanted to see Satan Tango. We'll see if I ever manage to track that one down. It's been one that like I've had on my to watch list for at least a decade now. I still haven't been able to find it. Let's hope the Criterion Collection releases it or something. Check out Decalogue and Lav Diaz. Lav Diaz. I guess it's a director. The absolute master of long movies, while Decalogue may be the greatest piece of cinema out there. I haven't seen the Decalogue yet, but my brother did just buy the Criterion Collection Blu-ray, so it's now an option. I probably will watch it at some point in the near future then. Let's see. If you are depressed, do not watch The King of Comedy. Yeah, I think that's good advice. Gosling is good, but he's been doing a lot of the dreamy yet mysterious New York accent guy recently. King of Comedy is probably my favorite Scorsese. Yeah, a lot of people seem to really dig that movie. I saw it a long, long time ago. I wasn't a big fan of it when I saw it, but it's one that I hear brought up a lot recently of people saying it's one of Scorsese's best, if not his very best. So I'm gonna have to see it again and see if there's something I missed last time, because I was very young. And as I've learned by revisiting a lot of movies when I was a teenager, I wasn't quite emotionally equipped yet to be able to appreciate them. That was a discovery I made recently with Ingmar Bergman's Cries and Whispers. I watched that one when I was in high school, and I didn't really enjoy it. I thought it was kind of boring, to be honest, and didn't watch it for years and years and years, and then just recently rewatched it and was absolutely devastated by it. Wow. That is a tough movie, a very, very tough movie, but an incredibly profound experience too. Really tries to dig into some pretty profound questions and really tries to examine life and I guess like meaning of life, or finding personal meaning or significance to life. I was utterly compelled by it watching it again. So yeah, just as people, we're constantly growing, constantly evolving. And that's one of the things I like about movies too, is that they grow with us. They are on the surface the same thing. They never change. They never alter. They're always the same movie. But because we change, they change with us. We see different things. We react to different things. We understand different things. So I feel like movies are always changing too. It's never the same experience for me watching a movie 10 years ago compared to today, and I know 10 years from now it's probably going to be different all over again. Long movie, watch Jerry by Gus Van Sant. Long. It's only like 90 minutes or 100 minutes, but it does feel long. It does. But I like that one. I like Gus Van Sant's Death trilogy, Jerry and Elephant and Last Days. I don't know if enjoy is the right word, but I was compelled by them. I found them compelling experiences, and memorable too. There are still many scenes in Jerry and Elephant and Last Days that I still remember. There is something very, for me, I know a lot of people don't enjoy those movies, but for me there was something really affecting about them. I want to revisit them too. Those are other ones that I haven't seen in ages. I really want to rewatch them. If you want to see something depressing and funny, there's Inside Llewyn Davis. That's one of the few Coen Brothers movies I haven't seen. I think I've seen everything they've done except for their most recent stuff, Inside Llewyn Davis and Hail Caesar. So I need to catch up with Coen Brothers. But I've heard a lot of good things about Inside Llewyn Davis. So, and I a couple months ago, last time there was a Barnes & Noble sale, I bought the Blu-ray of that one. So I need to get around to watching it. So many things I need to watch. Does this chat want me to get more depressed? Are you planning to watch Scorsese's Silence? Yeah, I will see that one at some point. I didn't really pay attention. It seems like it just kind of came and went. Like it didn't get any Oscar nods or anything like that. That one vanished really quickly, didn't it? Did anybody see it? Was it good? See if I can find another question here. Silence is a misunderstood masterpiece. In 20 to 30 years, it will be hailed as one of the greatest cinematic achievements ever. Okay, so there's some fans then. Hail Caesar was meh, but good music. Yeah, I heard Hail Caesar was kind of I read an article that made a big deal about all the passion Scorsese put into Silence, so it made me really sad when it didn't do well. Yeah, it seems nobody really paid attention to that one. It's too bad. It seemed Scorsese was like on top of the game for a while too, like with The Departed, and then Shutter Island, and then Hugo, and then Wolf of Wall Street. All of those movies did really, really well. Silence is the first one he's made in a while that just seems like it just kind of fizzled out. Yeah, I'll have to see it. I wonder if it is good. Because I think Scorsese's done a lot of really underrated stuff. I think my personal favorite of his is Bringing Out the Dead. I think that's just a great movie. And one of Nicolas Cage's best performances. I absolutely adore Bringing Out the Dead, and I feel like not nearly enough people have seen that one. Have you ever checked out any Alan Clark films? Yes, I have. I have seen Scum, one that... oh gosh, I don't know if that was one of his... I think it was his first. I can't remember now. But I did see Scum. I own a Blu-ray of Scum. I only watched it once, and that was ages ago, but pretty harsh. Alan Clark, yeah, is one of those directors that really doesn't hold anything back. But that's one of the things I admire about him, is he's really just no holds barred, just trying to make edgy films that are as confrontational and as honest as possible. I also saw Made in Britain with Tim Roth as a skinhead. Man, Tim Roth was intense in that movie. That was pretty incredible. And the other Alan Clark film I saw was Elephant. Not Gus Van Sant's Elephant, although Van Sant's was actually named after Alan Clark's Elephant. And Alan Clark, yeah, that was a very unusual but a very innovative film. Alan Clark's Elephant was just, there's no story. It's only about 40 minutes long, and it's just a series of tracking shots recreating murders committed by the IRA. And it's basically, it's about violence and war and bloodshed, and he takes away all of the context and just presents the violence, the deaths, totally disconnected from any political commentary, social commentary, and he just tries to show how horrible violence is, totally disconnected from all of that, just violence itself and the brutality of violence. It's an experience. It really is. And yeah, I don't think Alan Clark gets enough attention either. He really is, or was, an innovative filmmaker, a fearless filmmaker. Some people talking about Hacksaw Ridge. Haven't seen that one yet. Mel Gibson, yeah, obviously a controversial figure. I don't defend him as a person, but I do think he is a very talented filmmaker. I'm somebody that tries as much as possible to separate the art from the artist. Not always an easy thing, I understand. I think each of us makes our own personal choice about that, whether we're willing to make that disconnection. But for me, yeah, I can't defend like stuff that Mel Gibson has said or done over his career, but yeah, I just try to forget all that when I watch one of his movies, and just on their own as a filmmaker, I think he's very good. Apocalypto I thought was amazing. Yeah, a very viscerally intense movie, but that's what I loved about it. Scum is pretty good. Yeah, from what I have seen, he is a master. I assume you're talking about Alan Clark there. Yeah. Corrine wrote an early draft of Van Sant's Elephant. Corrine's favorite filmmaker is Clark. I did read about that. I have a book of interviews with Harmony Korine, and he does mention Alan Clark a couple times. And I'm assuming it was probably, yeah, because Korine did write an early draft of, or did he? He might not have even delivered a draft for Van Sant's Elephant, but I'm sure it was Korine's idea to name it Elephant. How do you feel about foreign animation? It's all made for kids in America, so people don't really think to give it a real chance. Well, I'm certainly a fan of anime. There's a lot of anime out there that I really enjoy, like Akira, I think, is a great movie, a masterpiece. I'm a huge fan of that one. I really enjoy like Neon Genesis Evangelion. I think that's a great series. What else? I guess that's still kind of kid stuff, but Hayao Miyazaki, I think, is probably the greatest filmmaker who has ever lived. Every single one of his movies is just an absolute masterpiece. I'm trying to think what else I've seen. I've seen a few like stop motion animated films by the Czech filmmaker Jan Svankmajer. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name correctly, but like his version of Alice in Wonderland was very strange and surreal and cool. And I know I've seen some other stuff. There's one that was really good, a French animated film, The Illusionist, that was based on a script by Jacques Tati, who is one of the greatest filmmakers who's ever lived. Monsieur Hulot's Holiday, Mon Oncle, Playtime, Trafic. Playtime, I think, is one of the greatest movies ever made. One of the most mind-blowing works of genius that I've ever seen. There is absolutely no other movie like Playtime. The sheer ambition of it, is amazing. The way Tati conducts these huge scenes and like background, foreground, midground, the movement of all the people and how many jokes he's got going on in the frame. I love Playtime. But yeah, he wrote a script called The Illusionist that he never managed to make while he was alive. And then these animators turned it into a movie after his death that was just beautiful. The Illusionist, I think is tremendously underrated, tremendously underseen. If you want to see just a heartbreaking animated film that will make you absolutely bawl like a baby, you have to see The Illusionist. That's such a beautiful movie. Don't get angry. How's your haircut? You always have your hair covered. Yeah, well, I could show you. It's getting long. I guess just to keep it from getting all in my face and everything, I just try to keep it covered, but just growing it out. Have you seen 71 Fragments of a Chronology of Chance by Michael Haneke? I think so. Is that the... Oh, I can't remember now. I think that's the one that like builds up to the shooting, right? And it seems to be like all these disconnected stories. I hope I didn't just spoil it. That's revealed like going into it that's where it builds, right? I can't remember now. But I did like that one. It did have a big impact on me where like I guess I've spoiled it already, so I'm just going to talk about it. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry, anybody who hates spoilers. I apologize. But yeah, I remember starting that one, having no idea what it was about, and just like all these disconnected scenes and stories, and just spending like the whole time like, what is this? What is the point of this? And then there's that final scene where everything comes together, and it left me kind of speechless, as Michael Haneke films tend to do. It just left me absolutely speechless and disturbed and contemplating death and violence and so many awful things that give me anxiety and depression. Will you be seeing Ghost in the Shell? I have not made up my mind. I don't know. I love Takashi Kitano, and I think it's really cool to see him in another American movie. But, I don't know. Ghost in the Shell, the new one, doesn't look too good to me. I guess we'll see. I probably will see it at some point, but I don't know. I'm going to hold off on that one. Just bought the Tati Criterion. I'm amazed by his talent. Yeah. God, no one will be able to replicate what Jacques Tati did. An absolute master. Tati, I'll have to check that cartoon out. Playtime is my favorite film out there. Yeah. Love Playtime. It's called The Illusionist. You should absolutely see it. It's so beautiful. I didn't understand Playtime by Tati. If you want to watch funny French people, I'd watch Louis Defunay? Hey, nice hair. Thank you. Don't worry, they reveal information about the shooting at the beginning of the film. Okay, thank God. Okay. I couldn't remember. This Louis Defunay, I've never heard of that filmmaker. I'll have to write that one down. Funny French. Yeah, Tati's not for everybody. I get that. I didn't really get Playtime the first time I saw it. Playtime was the first film of his that I saw. Yeah, when you start it, you just think, nothing's happening. There's nothing going on. You kind of have to learn how to watch his movies, because it's all about just stuff happening simultaneously, like everywhere in the frame. Like here in the corner, here in the foreground, he's got like all of these fake Monsieur Hulots going through the frame all the time. It's a comedy that doesn't adhere to the rules of a comedy, so it can take some getting used to. It wasn't until like the second or third time that I watched Playtime that I finally started to get it and started to see the genius in it. Defune, not sure on the pronunciation, sorry about that. He's an actor, not a filmmaker. Okay, well, I'll write his name down regardless. See if I can find something of his. Okay. Thank you for the suggestion. Have you ever given any thought to becoming an actor? You are handsome, well-spoken, intelligent, and very animated. Well, thank you, but I might be a little too self-conscious to be an actor. I don't know. I think directing's more my gig. I'm the reverse Quentin Tarantino. Who knows, though? Maybe I'll end up becoming an actor accidentally. I do want to get into filmmaking, so I don't know. Certainly if somebody asked me to act in a film, I would be willing to do that. I have acted in a few films by friends, so I can do it if it's necessary. Alright, so I think we've probably gone on long enough. Best Defune film is Joe, 1971. Okay, J-O. I'll look into that. I'll just try to answer whatever last few questions there are, and then we'll probably bring this stream to a close. Thank you, though, for the compliments. I appreciate that. I'm a very socially awkward person, so part of doing these streams is having to get over that nervousness, and just learn to relax, just be myself. I think you could certainly tell in some of my earlier videos that I was really trying too hard, really trying to put on a performance. It's hard for me to watch some of those earlier videos, but I think I'm getting better at just relaxing, being comfortable, being myself. Let's see. In a few of your videos, you have a John Cassavetes box set. I was wondering what your opinion on his films is, considering he is my favorite director. And it looks like we have one more question too. Also lately I've tried to get into John Ford films, and I've just found myself bored with them and can't see the artistry behind them. All right, I'll try to answer these last two questions, and then we'll end the stream. John Cassavetes, though, unfortunately, he's another one that I've seen a couple of his movies. I've seen Shadows and I've seen Faces, but I haven't watched his movies since high school. And yeah, because I guess or at least back when I was living with my parents and I had like some more disposable income, I would buy a bunch of movies, and oftentimes would not watch. It's like all these books I have. I have a ton of books that I haven't read. I have a ton of movies and Blu-rays that I haven't watched yet, and the John Cassavetes box set is one I have yet to completely go through. So I've only seen the first two, just Faces and Shadows. But I remember really liking them when I did see them, and John Cassavetes, his naturalism, his ability to work with actors and to create a very a naturalistic sense of reality, and the way he would work with improvisation, the way he would evolve his scripts, and the way he would shoot like with handheld cameras, and how like he would use his career as an actor, like acting in films like Rosemary's Baby or The Dirty Dozen, how he would use that to finance these really small little experimental films like that. I really admire that, and it seems like a pretty good way to make movies, to do these really big things where you just act and then just go off on the side and make these little movies with your friends and just have total freedom, no expectations. And I think that's certainly what was so groundbreaking about his work at the time, is that nobody else was doing that. He's often cited as the grandfather or the father of American independent cinema. And his influence in that regard can't be overestimated, because once people saw that, it was sort of like the French New Wave. Once people saw that, oh, I can just go out and make a movie, and I don't have to go to a studio, I don't have to go to Hollywood, I can just put something together and go out and do it. Like that, there was a time when people didn't think that was possible, and Cassavetes was one of those people that showed that it was possible. And of course, it built from there. So I acknowledge his importance as a filmmaker, but unfortunately, I apologize, it's been just so long, the memory of the films aren't fresh enough in my mind to where I think I can really comment in depth on him. But I always find him very inspirational, in the organic way that he would work with his actors, changing dialogue or whatever it was to try and make it sound as realistic as possible, and just trying to give a sense of reality, of real people hanging out, talking, existing. I love that about his work, and that's something that if I were to make a movie, that's, I think, part of the way I would do it is, dialogue is not set in stone. I'm not one of those word-specific people. I would love to be able to collaborate with actors, other people, to create something that feels real, that feels natural. And John Ford, this will be the last one. I sort of agree with you on John Ford. He's never been one I've been crazy about. But like I said, I think in the last stream, I've been like revisiting westerns and stuff, and my opinion of westerns has been evolving. It's always been a genre that I've been kind of like, westerns are kind of boring. It's not really my thing. But the last few westerns that I've seen, I've actually been very impressed by. So I'm wondering if maybe I should go back and revisit John Ford. But at the time, I didn't really enjoy the stuff of his that I saw, like My Darling Clementine. I didn't really get into. The Searchers, I thought, had some stuff that was really good in it, but also had some stuff that I really didn't think was good in it, like all the attempts at comedy I thought were kind of painful, and the story I just found melodramatic. I also saw Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, which I wasn't really compelled by. So I don't know, maybe I just wasn't, at the time, I wasn't able to appreciate them. Maybe there is something I missed. I don't know. Whenever it's like a big filmmaker like that, I'm always wondering if I don't enjoy their movies. I always wonder if it's like, maybe there's just something I wasn't able to see. So I reserve final judgment on John Ford. Certainly when I did watch his movies, which was, again, a long time ago, in high school, and at that time, I didn't really have much of an appreciation for them, and I was bored by them. But I don't know, with a filmmaker of the stature of John Ford, who does have as many admirers and as many like major directors that respect him and cite him as an influence, in a case like that, I always try to keep an open mind and think, okay, maybe there's something I missed there. Maybe there's something I'm just not able to appreciate yet. Maybe I'll learn to see it, maybe not. So it's been a while since I've seen a John Ford movie. I think I probably need to rewatch them before I can really say definitively whether I think he's a bad director or a good director. Although it's like Hitchcock. I'm not a huge fan of Hitchcock. I did state recently that I thought he was one of the most overrated filmmakers of all time, and a lot of people came to his defense, said like, no, he's great, he's amazing, I love his movies. So obviously there's something there that I must be missing, and yeah, I'm trying to open my mind up about that as well. Maybe, yeah, I'm just not getting Alfred Hitchcock. I don't know. But I just try to stay open. I just try to always remain curious, and always try to discover things that I may have missed, or that might be there, because you never know. You never know ultimately what you might discover in a movie. So I think it's all about remaining open-minded and remaining curious as a viewer. I think, yeah, let's see if we, just taking the last look through the chat here. John Ford was a massive influence on Akira Kurosawa. Yeah, and Akira Kurosawa is one of my favorite filmmakers of all time, so that is compelling evidence to think, like, yeah, maybe there's something about John Ford that I missed that first time around. So, yeah, stay open-minded. I just try to stay open-minded. Let's see, any more news about Shane Carruth, The Modern Ocean recently? Yeah, sorry, somebody asked me about that last week, too. Haven't heard anything yet. I don't know. But I've just got my fingers crossed that it's being made in secret and will be revealed soon. Let's hope. Let's hope that it's still happening. I really hope so. It's been so long since Shane Carruth has made a movie. I just want to see more work of his. Why is it always the best directors that have so much trouble? Like Jodorowsky or David Lynch or Shane Carruth. Like, they work so... They work so painfully little. Why can't they just make more movies? Why can't there be more space for those kind of filmmakers? It's one of the frustrating things about the business. But okay, I think I've probably rambled long enough, so I think we're going to bring this stream to a close. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. I'm discovering that I really enjoy doing these live streams. This is a lot of fun. I like being able to interact with everybody in a more direct way like this. So I think we're gonna continue doing it as consistently as we can. So I guess I will see you next week. Got to work this around my work schedule, so we'll find out when I have a day off at the beginning of next week. And we'll do another stream then, and I'll try and watch something good to talk about in the meantime. But thank you for all of your questions. Thank you for watching. Thank you for all of your comments. I really do appreciate it, and I really appreciate all the support you give the channel. Yeah, please do. Yeah, I got to do the obligatory plugging at the end. Please do subscribe if you haven't already. I do have a Patreon if you are able. Feel free to contribute something to that. I always feel weird asking for money, but yeah, if I want to support myself, I guess it's a necessary evil. But yeah, I do have a Patreon account. Feel free to contribute to that if you want. It's by no means necessary. I appreciate all the support you give the channel regardless. And I just appreciate, yeah, being here for the live stream, interacting. It's a lot of fun. I enjoy it. So I guess that's about it, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everyone.